Yo, what's going on? What's going on? Welcome to the live stream. Do me a favor and type 5 if you can hear me. You see me just fine. Just wanted to get in here real quick and touch on a couple of things. So go ahead and press 5 if you can hear me and if you can see me all right. What I want to do is just give a quick update on the coronavirus, and more specifically, I just want to tell you all what I am advising my patients, my personal patients. So of course, this is not medical advice. Don't start or stop taking any medications because of anything you're hearing. At the end of the day, make sure you check with your practitioner as far as what they are recommending. And a lot of these practitioners should be somehow reaching out to their patients in certain situations like this, or have some type of billboard, or not billboard, but some type of announcement on their site. But what I want to do is just talk about a couple of things that I'm letting my patients know, as far as what to look out for and what to do, and more so what they can do on their part to avoid the concerns that a lot of people are having in general. So if you hadn't had a chance, make sure you go watch the video that I did a couple days ago. I posted it on YouTube. It's also somewhere on Facebook as well too. But that video is going through really explaining what the coronavirus is, also explaining what you can do as an individual and also for your family to protect yourself. And also one of the main points of that video was to really calm a lot of the fear and anxiety people were having, the panicking. All those things are not beneficial. And so I wanted to come through and with facts and really kind of lay a lot of these concerns to rest while presenting it from a historical perspective. And so I'll start it off the same way I started the last one off, which is this will most likely become a pandemic. All right, this will most likely become a pandemic, and if it does become a pandemic, a lot of people will get infected. So those are just the facts. With a lot of people getting infected, some will die. All right, so let's go ahead and get out those facts. This will most likely become a pandemic, if it's not already right now. A lot of people will get infected, and of those who are infected, some will die. All right, so that's the bad news. Now, like I said in the last time, here's the good news. We've seen this before. This is not the first time we've seen a strain of the coronavirus. We've seen it before. There was one was called MERS. That was back in 2012. Another one was called SARS. That was back in 2003. This one is so different because it mutated from they believe a bat. It mutated, was transferred over to a human, and now once it gets into a human, it can now go human to human. This one is spreading, and that's the reason why they're so concerned about it. Now, what we have to understand is just like all of these outbreaks and viral outbreaks and pandemics that we've seen before, this too will pass. Most people will not get infected. Most people will not get infected, and a lot of people who are infected will not die. And so we're already seeing those rates. On that video, once again, I posted it below. But on the video that I did that's on YouTube, I talked about the SARS outbreak back in 2003, and I believe the case fatality rate. The case fatality rate is the number that you're looking at as far as how many people are actually dying. So these are people that you are falling from the point of diagnosis all the way to the point of death or discharge and sending them home. And so what they're doing, if we have 100 people who are actually infected with the condition, of that 100, how many are actually dying versus going home safe. And so with the one back in 2003, that was SARS, the case fatality rate for that was like 9.6. So essentially, let's just say 10%. So essentially, if you have 100 people, for every 100 people, 10 people were actually dying. And when it came to MERS, which was back in 2012, that one was very deadly. That one had a 34% case fatality rate. So essentially what it means is for every 100 people who were infected with the condition, you're looking at 34 people actually dying. This particular coronavirus, the 2019 COVID-19 coronavirus from Wuhan, China, it has a case fatality rate of 2.3. So that is dramatically lower than the other ones that we've seen. And what that means is that out of 100 people who are infected, you're looking at 2 dying. Now, let's talk about that population of those who are getting infected and the population of those who are actually dying. Largely, the population that are dying are the elderly, and so we see that there's a huge elevated spike, or a spike in the 80 and over population. I believe the numbers last time I looked were about 14% of the 80 and over population made up a large percentage of those who were actually dying. And then you have those who have comorbidity, so those who already have an underlying condition or already have a weakened immune system. Those are also the ones that are making up a large percent of those who are actually dying. It is extremely rare to have someone who is completely healthy, a strong or decent immune system, and die from a virus like this. Is extremely rare. That would be an issue, but we're not seeing this. Okay, so I want to make sure that once again we present the facts, and that's what we're seeing in this one. And so, as far as what I'm telling my patients, what to do, because of course they're asking. Florida is in a state of emergency right now, and so of course they're asking. They want to know what to do. Do we need to get the gas mask? What's up? So I'll echo essentially what I said on the video again. You want to do your best to avoid the virus itself, and the way you're going to do that is just basic stuff, things you should be doing on a daily basis as far as hygiene goes. Wash your hand, wash off, put your clothes in the dirty clothes, especially if you work in the healthcare environment. Don't be throwing it on the bed. So wash your hands. Wash down the counters and everything like that, but don't go crazy, because once again, we want to be careful about the narrative that we're telling our mind, because if you're panicking, that's going to make things worse. So we don't want to go into that direction. So wash your hands. Also, we talked about decreasing your travel. So if you don't have to get on the plane, if you don't have to get on the train, if trains are even still around, if you don't have to get on the bus, if you don't have to do those things, then you should definitely decrease it, because people are going to be sick. You also want to do your best to avoid people who are sick. I'm not saying call the CDC on everybody who's coughing, but at the same time, just try to avoid people who are sick. Also, decrease your exposure to the crowd, and if you feel like you are sick, or you may have a little something, do your best to avoid anybody in your family or anybody that's elder, so anybody that's in the 70, 80 range, do your best to avoid them, because you don't want to infect them with anything. And, because once again, that's the population that we know has a higher chance of becoming severe or critical when it comes to the actual infection. So try to stay away from them if you feel like you're sick. Now, one thing I want to say that I should have said in the beginning is that, the coronavirus popped up supposedly in China back in November. The thing about viruses is that they spread real easy. The viruses spread real easy, and so you have top epidemiologists. They are essentially saying that if it popped up, this is not just with the coronavirus, but with any type of virus that becomes widespread. If it pops up in one place, the clock as far as when it's going to get to your area doesn't start to when you see your first case. It starts when it started back in that first place. So essentially, when we saw coronavirus pop up in November back in China, give or take a day or two or a week or two, it popped up over here in America, because people travel. People are going to be exposed, especially this was like supposedly the storyline is that this was a market. People were exposed, people walking back and forth. The incubation period for the coronavirus on average is about 5-6 days. It can go up to 14 days. So there's a very, very good chance that the virus has been in the United States of America since November. If it has been in the United States since November, very good chance that people have become sick, thinking that it's the flu, dealt with the flu, and recovered, and walking around just fine. So there's a very good chance that, a lot of us have already been exposed, or we already been dealing with it, especially if you know someone who was over in those areas. So that's just something I want to say as well too. Now, as far as what are you looking for, or when should you be seen, as far as possibly thinking that you're sick, right? Possibly thinking that you were infected with the coronavirus. So once again, talk with your own practitioners, your own healthcare providers. This is just what I'm telling my patients, and maybe this may be helpful to some people watching this as well. So the first thing is, go ahead and buy a thermometer. Every home should have a thermometer. Side note, I'm really big on survival and prep, like being ready, like at all times. I've always been the one called to be a little crazy, because when I walk around my clothes, I have on several layers of clothes, because I'm always in the mindset like, stuff pop off, I gotta be ready. I always have something in my pocket, like I'm that guy. All right. And so as far as being just prepared, every household should have a thermometer. And essentially, when it comes to having a thermometer, what you're looking for is, a fever. A fever is defined as 100.4. So you want to make sure you do an accurate, measuring the actual temperature. But if you have a fever, now we are looking at possibly, this is where you're going to have to go down that fault tree of, do I need to be seen, or am I fine? Now, just having a fever, this is what I'm telling my patients. As far as having a fever, that doesn't necessarily mean you need to run up in here. If you have a fever, now we have to ask ourselves a couple of other questions, are you having shortness of breath? Because that is serious, and that requires you to be seen, because when people are dying from when people are dying from the coronavirus and SARS and any other viral condition, it's not so much the disease, the pathogen itself that's killing them. It is the complications and the effects of the condition. So essentially, something called ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. This is essentially when the lungs become so inflamed that it's horrible, but you essentially suffocate. Even though you have air, oxygen, even though you have all those things, you essentially suffocate. So when people are dying from any of these viruses, it usually ends up with acute respiratory distress syndrome, or a lot of the side effects that come from being dehydrated. And so if someone starts to have shortness of breath, then I'm highly recommending that you go to the ER stat. If they become hypotensive, so if their blood pressure starts going too low, you remember I'm always telling you high blood pressure is not a disease. Your blood pressure is a check engine light. If it goes too high, if it goes too low, this is something indicating that it's something's wrong. You should listen to it. So in a situation like this, you should listen to your blood pressure, whether it's high or whether it's low. But in a situation like this can be dire. If your blood pressure goes too low, don't try to find something to make your blood pressure go up. That is the wrong thinking. This is a sign that you need to get to the ER stat. Also, if you have a severe cough, when you're like just hacking up a lot and it's over and over and over and over and over, this could be a response from your body to try to, get the mucus out, gasp for air. And so that would be another sign that I'm telling you to go to the ER. If you're having chest pain, go to the ER. If you have extreme fatigue to the point where it's hard to wake you up or wake somebody else up, if it's hard for you to stand up, there's a pretty good chance that you are severely dehydrated. And so this would be a red flag for you to go to the ER. And all those things I just listed out, fever of 104. So a fever is not enough, because just by having a fever, like I said, when they look at these percentages, 82 to 84% of these people have a mild case of the coronavirus. Like they have a mild case and they're going to be just fine. They're just getting conservative therapy. Like they're just, getting fluids and rest, so 82% of those people have a mild case. So they might have a fever, but that does not mean that they're going all the way into severe or critical. So having a fever does not suffice needing to go to the emergency room. But if you have a fever plus any of those other things I just listed out, such as shortness of breath, get to the ER. Fever plus hypotension, get to the ER. Severe cough, chest pain, extremely fatigue, all those things, get to the ER. But don't just go to the ER. Now, the reason why you don't just go to the ER just because you have a fever is because, once again, 82% is moderate. They're going to be fine. If you go to the ER just because you have a fever and you expose yourself to real sick people, because as clean as the hospital thinks they are, it's easy to get an infection. So you might mess around and come out there with a super infection. So I'm not recommending for my patients to go to the ER just because they're having a fever. They have to meet other criteria as well too. So don't just go to the hospital just because you have a fever, because you might make things worse. But if you meet the other requirements, get to the hospital. Now, don't just go to the hospital blindly. You need to actually call ahead. You want to call ahead because right now, especially right here in Florida, we're a state emergency. So you need to call ahead because they're going to tell you where to go. They're going to tell you if you need to come to this hospital, or you can't come here, you need to go to that hospital. And so call ahead because they're going to tell you where to go. A lot of these hospitals right now should have hotlines. They should have hotlines. They should have nursing hotlines where you can call and you can ask questions like this, like where should I go, so you can be properly triaged based on your severity, based on your signs and symptoms. So make sure you do that. And if you do meet that criteria and you are heading to the hospital because you have those things going on, then mask up. You need to wear a mask because now that you have those signs and symptoms, you want to do your best not to spread it. Side note about the mask, if you're just walking around wearing like surgical masks, you need to understand that the surgical mask is not going to stop you from actually contracting the coronavirus. It'll stop you from spreading it, or it'll decrease the chances you have of spreading it, but it's not going to protect you from the coronavirus. I'm going to talk to you about the thing that will protect you from the coronavirus, but it's not a mask. So those are the things. All right. Make sure you watch the video again if you have any questions as far as what I'm saying. But as far as now, here's the things that I really want to get to now. So we have to understand that just being exposed to a virus or bacteria does not mean you necessarily become sick. The bacteria, the pathogen itself, does not determine the outcome for that patient, that host. It is the military inside of that body that determines what's going to happen. If you have a pathogen, or if you have an invader, or if you have a colonizer that just come on your territory and do whatever they want, then yes, they're going to win. If they're not going to meet any resistance, yes, they're going to win. If they can come in there and, start moving stuff around and taking over, and there's no hostility and there's no aggression, or your soldiers have no idea what to do, they don't know how to shoot, they don't know how to fight, they don't know how to do anything, then you have a weak immune system and you are vulnerable. And so that's why we see that more so in the elderly population, because, around that age, because a lot of people stop moving. Movement is extremely important. Movement is extremely important. If you look at any old person, older people, our elders, if you look at the ones that actually move versus the ones that don't move, you're going to see a higher correlation as far as improvement in health. And the ones who had a history of being active prior in life, they're also going to have a higher chance, higher likability to be healthier versus those who just remain stagnant. So move today and even when you get older. Now, once again, that military inside your body, the immune system, what I want y'all to do, so y'all, people are not just running around panicking and going crazy and acting dramatic. I want you to, and so I should actually found the video for you all to watch, but I want you to go on YouTube and watch a video on how the immune system works. So many people have no idea of how intelligent this whole entire system that we're sitting on works. It's an intelligent system. It's beautiful as far as how it works. I mean, with the way we're responding, you would think that we don't have it, but we do. And so go on YouTube and look, just type up, how does the immune system work? Learn about the B cells. Learn about the T cells. The T cells are straight beasts, like they're mercenaries. You have one called the natural killer cell. This cell doesn't even ask questions. When there's a possible invader, he's not checking to see, yo, where you going, what you doing, who sent you. This natural killer cell is not asking any questions. It's just off with his head. Like you have things in your body that are extremely aggressive. You have things in your body such as the B cell. The B cell is like the radar in the body, where it's just constantly 24/7 surveillance. So it's like the surveillance camera. It is your alarm system. It is your radar. And so it's constantly just watching the body, what's landing on you, what's going inside you. And when the B cell actually identifies a pathogen as a threat, it calls the homies, it calls the goons, it calls the hitters, it calls the squads, the mercenaries, the snipers. It calls those folks to come get them. And that pathogen will be lucky if the other T cells get to it before that natural killer get to it, because the natural killer is not asking any questions. Like, the natural killer is not trying to reform you. It's not trying to make you a better person. He's just like, you're off with your head. So I hope y'all get that, little metaphor I'm giving you. But that's really how it works. I mean, if you look at how a gang works, if you look at how a military works, you have there's levels to it, right? Like, you have to have the person who's logical, who's like, nah, hold on, wait, let's see what he's about. Let's see what he's going to do. Who sent you? What you doing here? This might be an ally. We might can turn you into an ally. And then you have the guy, when you say go, he's going to go. But then you got the guy who you can't even bring him out. He can't even be around, because all he wants to do is pop off. Like, that's all he wants to do. That's your hitter. You need them. You need them all. But you also need the balance. You also need the one that's like, let's see what this is before we mount a full-blown immune response. So please read up on your immune system. Watch a video on your immune system. Make sure you check this out, because I always say, if you don't leave with anything, leave with this. Your body is self-healing, self-regulating, and self-repairing. You didn't go through 9 months gestation, really more than 9 months, but you didn't go through 9 months of gestation, egg splitting. You won the race from the sperm to the eggs. You were just the heart, and then that heart with legs and brain, like all the spinal cord, like all those things took place. And now we are freaking out over a virus. I want us to just be careful with that. All right. I want us to really be careful with that sensationalism, with the panic. I'm not saying that it's not serious, because yes, of course, especially for those who are elderly and those who already have comorbidities. But what I would hope, especially for my community, is that we keep that same energy, because this thing is going to come and go. These folks are going to secure the bag. They're going to make money, especially on these diagnostic tests. They're going to make money, especially when it comes to the vaccines. Like, they're going to make their money. They're going to make their bag. I learned about this whole finesse back in 2009 with the H-1N1. I think that was the one. But nonetheless, when this is all over, I would like for us to keep the same energy as far as our interest in health, because for the military and the squad that's already ready, when you have an invader coming in and you have a well-trained militia, you have a well-trained military, you're like, you doing that whole, I wish they would. Like, you're walking around with a whole different energy. You're like, yo, I wish he would come over here, because you know what you can do. You know what your body can do. However, if you've never been in a fight, if you never had any type of adversity, if you don't even know how the gun works, you don't even know how anything works, and then you see a potential threat, and you're like, oh shit, here they go. And it's like, and it's like, oh, they're coming over here. You walking around with a different energy. And then the media comes and it makes it worse. They're like, yo, you see what's going over here? Don't be next. You might be next. And so we have to understand that none of those things benefit us. You need to walk around empowered. You need to walk around informed. And the way to do that is by really learning about your body, just a basic level, but especially learn about your immune system, all right? Because it's miraculous. So here's the things that are going to actually harm your immune system. Eating processed foods. So eating processed foods is going to downregulate your immune system. You are essentially giving your military the worst of the worst food. You're treating them like crap. You're giving foods that don't even have the nutrients. You got to understand that for that immune system to function properly, it needs the best of the best nutrients. It needs the best of the best minerals, vitamins, phytochemicals. And when you have a military or a battalion or a squad or even a gang or whatever like that, and you getting money, 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 and they're not getting anything. What they're getting is scraps. How long you think this is going to be a peaceful relationship? How long before your own military revolts, or how long before your own military just goes on strike, like they boycott? And so by giving your food, giving your body the worst of the worst foods, such as processed foods. Processed foods are the foods that are stripped of all nutrients, all fiber. You get it in the box, you get it in the can, you get it in the window. When you're giving that to your squad, your immune system, you are giving them the worst of the worst fuel. You are treating your squad the worst, and then you're expecting them to stand up and defend you in the face of adversity. Good luck with that. It's not going to happen. It doesn't happen in real life, and it doesn't happen in the real natural life. So, don't see yourself as so different from this world. A lot of, they say above, as below, as out, as within, you know what I'm saying. So there's not too much difference. If you're getting money and you're not giving your squad any money, and they're helping out and they're doing all the work, they're putting in, doing all these things, and you're not giving them anything, good luck with that. It's not going to work out for you. So processed foods, don't do that. That's the worst thing you can give to your body. This processed foods also strips your body of the very things that it needs to heal and recover, which is the minerals, the phytochemicals, and the vitamins, the enzymes. Don't give that to your body. All right. I talked about fast food. Also, don't be the person eating fast food with a mask on, thinking that you're doing something. That's pointless. Don't be that person. Juice, soda, same thing. You're giving your body, you're giving your military, your immune system the worst of the worst fuel possible. That's the worst thing you can do. Not only that, by drinking soda and juice, and also the processed foods, you are taking away the ammunition for your military for about 4 hours at a time. Processed foods, juices, sodas decreases the immune system for on average 4 hours. It slows down the T cells. And I told you the T cells, those are your hitters. Those are your troops. They're the one kicking in the doors. But if you are taking in the worst of the worst food, you're defeating yourself. You're defeating your military itself. Also, this whole 6 small meals a day, where them folks at? Where are those folks at? Is anybody telling you to eat frequently right now so you can stay healthy? Is anybody telling you to eat 6 small meals so you can rev up your immune system? Nah, because you know why? The whole rev up your metabolism was BS. That makes you unhealthy. Once again, all you're doing, but every time you are eating, you have to understand just how metabolically demanding that is for your body. You are diverting your attention. You are diverting your energy. It takes a lot of work to break down food. And so every time you're eating, you're slowing down the immune system. You're slowing down the functioning of your body. That takes a lot of work. If so much work is going towards the gut and breaking down food, assimilating the food, and then, excreting the food, how much focus is on actually protecting the body? Not much. But also, when you're frequently eating, you're not going through a process called autophagy. Autophagy is definitely needed during this time. Matter of fact, if you look up autophagy and MERS, there was a study done from the last time we had the MERS virus, and it just showed how effective autophagy was in protecting the body from MERS. So please don't go around trying to eat every 2 to 3 hours, 6 small meals a day. Once again, check with your provider because, I got to do that part. Being sedentary, just sitting around. That's not going to help you out at all. That's going to make things worse. Once again, moving around, doing exercise is like you giving your body adversity. This is like pretty much training for your immune system. All right. You got to make sure that the heart can pump blood effectively. You have to make sure that your muscles are strong. You have to make sure your lungs are strong. Once again, remember I said that when people are dying from the coronavirus, and really just any virus in general, most times it's ARDS, acute respiratory distress syndrome. And we see that in the older population because their lungs are not trained because of, they're older, they're sitting more, and so their lungs are not trained. But however, you see that less so. Oh, another thing, over in China, Wuhan, China, with the death rates, most of those patients were men. And as far as smoking goes over there, most of the men smoke. This is what I'm reading. I don't know, haven't been over there. I'm going over there no time soon. And but so this also speaks to the health of the lungs. So move, run, do chair aerobics, do the pool, just move more, exercise. Okay, even right now. Also, stress. Stress decreases your immune system. This is not fairy tale. This is not just me guessing. When you stress, you're going to be sympathetically activated. Sympathetically activated means that you are in the fight or flight system. Everything in the fight or flight system is all about surviving right now. When you are trying to survive right now, there are several things you need to take place. Vasoconstriction to the gut needs to happen. Vasodilation to the actual peripheral limbs, so your legs, your arms. Also, blood pressure needs to increase. Cholesterol needs to increase because cholesterol is a precursor to tissue repair, and cholesterol is also a precursor to cortisol. Cortisol needs to be increased. Cortisol will now release glucose. Glucose is going to go to the muscles to provide energy. Also, cortisol plays a large role when it comes to healing. And so cortisol is also going to help with the breakdown of glycogen. This whole symphony is taking place. There's more that's going on. Your blood is going to become thicker. You're going to increase your viscosity because your body is in a state of stress. And so if you cut yourself or if you fall, because once again, understand that when you go into stress, when you're more sympathetically activated, your body is still existing in Africa. I know we're in New York, we're in Atlanta, we're in South Carolina and Florida, we're all these places, but genetically you're still back in Africa. And so our body is still not used to this artificial trauma that we're dealing with, this artificial stress that we're dealing with. It's not adapt to the fact that you're actually just scrolling up the screen on your phone looking at Instagram versus actually being the one getting beat up. And so when you're just watching these things happen, you watch people get beat up or shot or in fights, or you watch people get taken advantage of. You watch somebody who looks like you, walk like you, talk like you, live in the same neighborhood as you, going through trauma. You resonate with that trauma. Matter of fact, if the person looks like you resonate more so with the trauma. It's called neurocinematic trauma. And that's why I always tell y'all, take it easy with all these slave movies, because especially if you resonate, if you are actually descendants of those who were actually enslaved, it's one thing to read the history. You need to know the history. Matter of fact, if you knew the history, your response will be different right now. So it's very important to know the history, but you need to be careful about who's giving you that history and how they're feeding it to you. Because once again, if I don't like you like that and I want to, initiate some form of warfare, I'm going straight for the mind. I'm not trying to pull out no guns yet. If I can defeat you on a mental level, we're going straight to the big screen. We're going straight to your most influential rappers and singers. Like, we're going to hit you out there. We're going to do a different type of warfare. We're not going for the guns, because if I kill you, I can't make money off of you. If I can keep you around and have you do the bid and you can kill yourself, that's good money. It's the whole different type of topic. But anyways, what was I talking about? So stress, neurocinematic stress. Please, take it easy with that. Take it easy with the big flashing headlines. These things are, they're really sensationalizing it. And you need to be very careful about what you're taking in. Once again, I'm not saying completely avoid what's going on, but if you're going to, take in information, let it be stats, let it be facts versus opinions. So you can go to a site like worldometer.info. You can go straight to the CDC, website, but I more so recommend worldometer.info. When you go to that one, you click on the coronavirus update, and it will just tell you, it will give you just raw data. See, Jay-Z said, women lie, men lie, but numbers don't. Now, numbers can be finessed and finagled, but this site does a pretty good job of just laying out the data, laying out the actual facts. And so you'll see that what you're seeing as far as the data and the numbers go, you would think that the numbers would be 10 times as high as what you were actually seeing because of the media. So what I would say, I'm not going to try to tell you how to feel about it. That's not my job at all. But I do want to present you with the education so you can be empowered and you can move appropriately, because at the end of the day, this is your life. You need to do what you need to do. Valerie, yes, worldometer.com. One word. But yes, you're right. So you go there, you'll be able to see the number of cases. You'll be able to see the number of active cases versus resolved cases. From there, you'll be able to see what they call the CFS, which is a case fatality. I'm sorry, CFR, which is a case fatality rate. And you're going to see that, we're looking at a 98 chances of surviving if you're affected with the coronavirus. And then when you go to the other side, you can see the active cases. You'll be able to see how much of the active cases are moderate conditions. Once again, there's a 100% survivability rate if you have the moderate version of coronavirus. And if you have the severe version of coronavirus, there's still a 100% survival rate. You're going to see that 82% is moderate, 15% is severe, and then 5%, the numbers might be a little bit off, but 5% is critical. And of that critical, half of that critical are going to make up the actual fatalities. And so, check out that website. It's straight facts. I recommend doing that versus looking at news. They're going to scare the shit out of you. That's good money. Like, I'm sorry to tell y'all, panic and hysteria is good money. It's not ethical money. It's not moral money, but nobody's talking about that. Y'all still don't know what you're dealing with. When people panicking and running around with mass hysteria, not sure, know what to do, and begging for certain things, this is good money. This is good money because I have a problem with it because the same administrations, the same regulations will be the ones that will approve certain types of foods, right? These foods, we know for a fact, make you unhealthy. We know that for a fact. There's no debate about that. But I will put my stamp of approval on that food. This same organization will turn around after that food has made you sick. They will now get to put the stamp of approval on the drugs that you will need to take because of the food that has made you sick. This same manufacturer will put stamps of approval on horrible food 365 days a year. And boom, outbreak comes. We made money on that side. Now let's make money on detecting the actual disease. After that, let's make money on actually approving the vaccine. After that, let's make money. Let's just keep making money. So if it was really about, health, then everybody would know for sure that those processed foods make you sick. Everybody would know that for sure. Everybody would know that it is almost impossible for you to become diabetic, type 2 diabetic, without the use of processed foods. People, the country in general will have a very different outlook on processed foods, very different outlook when it comes to soda and juice. We would start to shift our outlook on those things the same way we look at cigarettes. So for the most part, now we know that cigarettes are unhealthy. But at one time, you had doctors smoking cigarettes saying, yo, I recommend this brand of cigarette, right? And so if we know this to be the truth, you're not going to meet anybody who's getting sick from eating whole foods. I don't care if they're vegan or non-vegan. If they're eating whole foods, you're not going to hear nobody just getting sick and diabetic and high blood pressure at the rate that we're seeing right now with just basic food. So once this all dies down, I want you all to make sure we keep this same energy as far as being interested in what's going to make our immune system strong and how we can stay out these conversations. So once again, as far as them really caring, if you really cared, then you would have a different messaging when it came to the foods that were actually making people sick. These foods are actually decreasing your immune system. These foods are actually making your military unhealthy. How do we know this? Well, 60% of the adult population, has a chronic condition. 71% of the young population, ages 17 to 24, they cannot get into the military because they can't pass the test. They do not meet the criteria, whether it be a condition or weight or just they're not fit enough. That is a huge problem. That is a security risk. You're not going to be in my squad and you can't throw down. So, yeah, and Courtney was saying they still buy them. Yeah, you're not going to see the sales for soda, juice, processed foods. Like those sales are not going to go down just because we're in an epidemic or pandemic or coronavirus. Like that will be extremely telling, but that's not going to happen. Like that's not going to happen. That should, people talking about wash your hands. You got infectious disease. People talking about wash your hands, and that's true. Wash your hands. You have doctors giving advice talking about sanitizing this and that. So they're leaning more so on the side of don't get the disease, man. I always want to go to the worst. Like, what if I get the disease? Now what? The conversation needs to be both sides, both ends. Let's talk about how to, not get it, but let's also talk about how to strengthen our immune system. Because let's truth be told, most of these practitioners, whether it be the doctors, the nurse practitioners, the PAs, most of them have no idea what to do to strengthen your immune system outside of buying stuff. I'm not talking about buying vitamins, minerals, supplements. I'm talking about natural things such as fasting, getting sunlight. Sunlight is extremely important. Just Google sunlight and T cell, sunlight and immunity. You need sunlight. Don't let these folks trick you into believing that you need to stay out the sun. You need sunlight, especially if you African American, you are black, you are of African descent, you have the ability to tan. You need sunlight. Most of this country is vitamin D deficient. That's a huge problem because vitamin D is a hormone, and if you are deficient in vitamin D alone, you are vulnerable to every virus and bacteria. So don't miss that part. As far as what I want y'all to do, or as far as what I'm recommending my patients do, I'm telling them to guard their mind. So get off the social media. Stop looking at the news. If you're going to read anything, just read straight stats. But also don't forget the positivity. Now, I know this sounds a little airy-fairy, but at the same time, like, what narrative are you telling yourself? Are you telling yourself you're in a narrative of, shit's almost over. We have to, kiss the babies goodbye. This thing's about to end. Like, is that the narrative you're telling yourself? Or are you telling yourself, I still got goals to accomplish. I still got a business to run. I still have a mission. I still have this degree to finish up. Like, what are you working on? Are you telling yourself that this thing is about to end? Or are you telling yourself that, something's going on. We all around here, we're strapped up, we're ready to go. But we still have work to do. We still have a mission to go on. So be careful about who's around you, the information that they're giving you, the negativity, all that stuff. Just guard yourself, all right? Next, whole foods. I already told y'all, largely plant-based. I'm talking about 70 to 80% whole foods. High in fiber. We need fiber because you have a whole entire ecosystem of bacteria that resides in your gut. And if they're unhealthy, you are unhealthy. So make sure you stack up on whole foods. But I'm going to tell you about fasting. Then water. Water. I don't recommend soda, juice. Like, nah, I don't. Drinking herbal tea is different. Those are good. But as far as the soda and juice, nah, don't do it. That's liquid diabetes. It's diabetic fuel. Don't do it. Exercise, like I said, you need to test your military. If your military has never gone through a drill and something pop off and they're like, yo, where the AR is at? Where the AK is? Like, where they at? Oh, okay, we got them now. How do we use it? Like, if that's your immune system, you are in trouble. That doesn't have to be the case. You can always do something to improve it right now. But exercise is one of those, what they call stress, EU stress. This is a beneficial stress. So even though it's stressful for the body registered as positive, and it's going to make your body stronger and better. So exercise, where we're talking about walking, running, doing push-ups, doing jumping jacks, like, move, all right? Move. Deep breathing. Deep breathing is extremely important because deep breathing is a mechanical way to put yourself more in a parasympathetic state of being. Inside of being in parasympathetic, you're going to have more healing and repairing. You're going to be calmer. You're going to be able to think logical. You won't be so emotional. You won't be so short-sighted. And deep breathing does that. Deep breathing will help decrease the cortisol secretion. Deep breathing will help decrease, so much that has to do with stress. So deep breathing is very important. Just to start off, you can do inhale for 5 seconds. Like, as you're inhaling, that should take 5 seconds. Hold for 2, exhale for 5. Now, of course, as you go on, do 7, 3, and then 7. And then, go on and on and on. But just get started with deep breathing. And mind you, all this stuff I'm saying, if you want to get more information, just look up on YouTube. You got a whole entire university at your hand. Don't use it to traumatize yourself. Use it to empower yourself. All right. Empty stomach before bed. That is a game changer. So many patients. I just finished speaking to a young female who I had doing this for a week and a half. She's been doing. Y'all wrapping up? All right. What time is it? 6:19. Man. So yeah, she's been doing it for about a week now, or a week and a half now. And she's like, yo, I have so much energy in the morning. I have energy all throughout the day. So when I'm talking about going to bed on an empty stomach, this means that the stomach needs about 3 to 4 hours before it's completely empty. It's properly digested, excreted and assimilated all the nutrients. I recommend not eating anything after 6. The reason why I recommend that is because I recommend that you go to bed by 10. And in order for your stomach to be empty, you need about 4 hours. And so 6 to 4 is going to give you that 4-hour window. But also from 10 to 2 is when you're going to, you have the potential to have the deepest amount of sleep, the deepest sleep, the REM, the rapid eye movement sleep. But between the hours of 10 to 2, if you have an empty stomach, the empty stomach is going to secrete a hormone called ghrelin. Ghrelin, when you look at the first, 3, good night, see you tomorrow. When you look at the first 3 letters in ghrelin, GHR, we're talking about growth hormone. So GH stands for growth hormone, releasing hormone. So ghrelin can only be released, or is mainly released, when your stomach is empty. Once ghrelin starts secreting around 10 o'clock, it's going to tell your body to, also ghrelin is the hunger hormone. So like when you start to growl, that's why they named it ghrelin, but also because ghrelin releases growth hormone. So 10 o'clock. Ghrelin release. Ghrelin is going to stimulate the release of growth hormone. Once you start stimulating the release of growth hormone, there's a reason why so many people try to buy growth hormone and inject it and do all these other things with it. Because, once again, not to sound airy-fairy, but it's just magical. But you don't have to inject it. You can get it naturally. Your body will naturally give it to you if you give the body what it needs. And so the growth hormone is going to allow for the deep cleansing, the deep repairing to go on. Once again, I told you, your body is self-healing, self-regulating, and self-repairing. But you have to give the body what it needs. Like, this has got to be a mutual beneficial relationship. This has to be you can't be just abusing it 24/7 all throughout the day and then expect for it to do right by you. Like what Seeley said, y'all know, you got to do right by him. And so by doing right by your body is by getting to bed by 10, having your last meal at 6. Just try it for a week and send me a message. Please send me a message. Let me know how it goes. But also, so do that. But make sure you get some sunshine. So like I said, sunshine is extremely important because of the vitamin D, but also because that heat that you're getting from the sun and the lack of blue light is going to stimulate your T cells, and it's going to make your T cells more effective. It's also going to make your B cells more effective. And so the B cells, once again, I said the B cells are like your monitoring system, your surveillance camera, your radar. And so your B cells are like, it's on 1,000. It's on 1,000, especially if you're fasting. It's looking for smoke. So, we're talking about looking for smoke. Yeah, your B cells is like wishing a pathogen would. I wish a pathogen would land on us. We're going to destroy it. Now, your B cell is not going to fight it. The B cell going to call the hitters, which is the T cells. So look all these things up. All right. But also community, laughter, and love. These things are important. If you don't feel important, if you don't feel valued and cherished, that is a narrative of not having purpose, and that is a narrative of not having hope. And so essentially what you're telling your immune system, you're telling your troops, listen, the battle's over, we lost. All right, like there's no reason to fight. I do want y'all to go over there and take care of this thing. The soldiers are like, for what? Like, it's over. So you are depressing your soldiers when you are telling them a story of not having any purpose or not having any hope, or not feeling needed or wanted or not feeling valued or cherished. That's once again why I'm telling you to be careful with what you see on the news and the media, not just because of the coronavirus, but just in general. Our value as black men and women, our value as descendants of African slaves. Be careful about the narrative that you are taking from those people who actually historically enslaved you. Be very careful about the narrative you are taking from them, because if you're expecting some upliftment, some value, and some cherish, forget about it. You got to do it. We have to do it. So be very careful about that. All right. Love is important. Laughing is important. Laughing is important. All those things are important. And then last but not least, fasting. Right now, if there was one thing I wish, one of my goals is to get our community into eating one meal a day. Look up Avina Fulton. I did a video, a quick, I have to do a thorough video. I have to do right by her because this sister is like the mother of nutrition for both black and white. She is the mother of fasting. So check her out. She had a huge impact on Dick Gregory. She also had a huge impact on Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam. She had a huge impact on so many, Dr. Sebi, Lalea Africa. She really birthed this idea of being purposeful with our foods and fasting, not only in our community, but just in general. And she was a straight boss. I believe her parents or her grandparents were enslaved. So she came out kicking in the doors, shooting everything that moved as far as accomplishing so much. So definitely check her out. Her name is Alvina Fulton. But yeah, so when it comes to fasting, ideally I would really like for our community to get into the habit of fasting, eating one meal a day. Throw out that crap they told you about 6 more meals a day. Throw it out. Please throw it out. It doesn't do you any good, but it makes them a lot of money. Please throw it out. But 1 meal a day. If you can't do 1 meal a day, do your best to fast for about 16 to 18 hours. Or at least do your best to fast 24 hours a week. So right now, while we're going through this coronavirus thing, I definitely recommend 1 meal a day. 1 meal a day. And you don't need to eat. You don't need to eat. All right, y'all. So I got to close this clinic. I appreciate it. Y'all stay safe. I love y'all. I appreciate y'all. And always remember, this is our community, our responsibility. We have what it takes. I'm going to holler at y'all later. Peace.